All right, when you first come into class and we're working on the sewing machines, this is what you should see. You should see the cover on the sewing machine. You should see your stool pushed all the way in underneath the table. This is how it works. After you use the machine, you can take the cover off. When you get ready, you will put on your thread. You'll put your bobbin in. And then once we're finished, you take off your thread, you take out your bobbin, you put the cover back on, and you make sure once again that your stool is tucked all the way in. This is what it should look like when you begin the day and when you finish the day. Hi, when you are at your sewing machine, each sewing machine also has a cabinet and a drawer that belong to it. They're all numbered, so I'm on sewing machine number 5, and this is drawer number 5 and cabinet number 5. Some of the important things that you'll find inside the cabinet is this handy dandy toolkit. Coming closer. All right, so in this toolkit, you will find a red tomato. Now this red tomato holds a whole bunch of straight pins, so they look a lot like needles, except the top, let's see here, the top does not have an eye in it like a needle does. And this will help hold your fabrics together. We'll talk about those a little later. You should have a nice pair of fabric scissors, so if you need scissors, there is a measuring tool. You can measure. A seam ripper. So if you would happen to mess up, you can take out your stitches with this thing. And there is a marking pencil. And this helps you if you have to mark anything, if you want to say, okay, this is 4 inches down if you're measuring, and you want to mark it. So it's right there. All that is found in your toolkit. Very exciting. The other thing that's really exciting is this drawer. Now if you open it and you mark, yeah, you can see a little bit. This drawer has a big old hole in it. You might think, what in the world, what's the point of a drawer with a hole in it? You take your bin that you were assigned that holds all your fabric, and you can stick it in that drawer. So everything that you need, all your fabric, any thread that you brought, anything that you brought yourself that you need to sew with, you can keep in your bin. And then when you're ready, you just put your bin in, you start sewing, and when you're finished, you just take everything out of your bin, close the drawer, and go return your bin to the cabinet. Makes it super easy. Now it's time to get to the fun part of our machine, using it. To start off, we need to turn the machine on and off. If you are facing your machine on the right hand side, you will see this knob right here. It is the on and off switch. If you turn it if it's in the down facing position, that means your machine is turned off. If you turn it a quarter turn, that means your machine is turned on. If you turn it 1 more quarter, your machine is turned on, and there may be a light that shines right by the needle. I will say I need to get some new light bulbs because some of the light bulbs are burnt out. But the ones that are not, it's a fun little display. Whenever you finish sewing, please make sure that the line is in a downward facing position so that it is turned off and can rest while we are not using the machine. The second wheel that you find on the right hand side of your machine is called the hand wheel. This hand wheel controls the needle. You are able to use this hand wheel, first of all, to bring up the thread from the bobbin. That's one of the most important reasons. The second thing you can do is if you ever need to do just a few stitches at a time and you don't necessarily want to use the presser foot, you can use this and you can do just a few stitches, 1 or 2 hand stitches to get you to the end of your project. It's really helpful. All right, let's move on and show the front of the machine. All right, so here we are at the front of the machine. This is where all the fun stuff really happens. So we're gonna start off with this top wheel right here. This is called the stitch width wheel. And if you notice, there's a picture right here that kind of shows you what your knob should look like. So if it's ever acting funny, look to make sure that your picture and your knob are matching, especially when you're just beginning sewing. So this has the wheel on the outside is a stitch width, and you can see over here the different lengths of stitches and how far apart they will be. This knob right here in the front adjusts the needle position. So bring our needle up here by our hand wheel on the side, So if I move just this needle, you can see this needle move right here if I move just this knob. All right, so again, you want this to be straight up and down. This over here tells you about how big and how wide the stitches should be apart, the stitch width. This needle right, or this knob right here is the buttonhole. That's how you make a button. Now there's a certain foot, this is called a presser foot over here. There's a certain foot that you have to use when you are making a button, but if you watch the needle over here, as I move this, the needle will move. So this is, and this knob up here will move. So that's part one of the button. You go to part two. This moved again, as well as the needle. 3, 4, 5, 6, and then back up to 0. So again, if you are wanting to make a button, that's what this knob does. It's very easy. It tells you step by step what to do, how to make a button. And this knob will move because this is the needle position. And you'll notice that your needle over here will move back and forth too. Again, just to make your button. And if you look right here, there's the picture. So if you're ever thinking, this is weird, my needle is off, make sure you look at the pictures and that your knobs match your pictures. The next one is the stitch length. So if you look right here, you can see the different stitches and how long or short they are. So the higher up you go, the shorter your stitch length. And the lower you go, the longer your stitch length. When you are doing it, you want to make sure that it's right about 2.5. Again, if you're ever confused, there's a picture right there to let you know about where it should be. The shorter the stitches, the harder it is if you mess up to fix them. And the longer the stitches, your piece doesn't stay together nearly as well. So that's why we have it to be right in the middle, so that if you mess up, your stitches aren't too short or too small for you to fix, but they're not too big that they will mess up your piece in the first place. Now, if you take this button and you see right here, this has a little U-shaped. If you lift it up, you will sew backwards. So when you're hand sewing, we tie knots, and that's how we get the fabric to stay. But when you're sewing on the machine, you sew your machine, you sew forward a little bit, then you lift up this knob and it'll sew backwards for a second, and then you sew forward again, and that is how you tie off your thread and make sure that your needle or your fabric and your thread stay locked together. This knob down here is called the stitch design, and it has there are two sides that this front knob can go to. Once again, if you're ever confused, look at this picture here. There are also two colors up here. There's a red line on this side and there's a green line on this side. And you want your, so there it is facing the red or facing the green. Now this has to do with the type of stitches that you're using. So if you look up here, there's a picture right here and up here on the top of the screen. Let's see if I can get to it. I don't know if I can right now. I'll show it in a little bit. And it has all the different kinds of stitches that you can do, that you can use on, there you can kind of see it there better. This is all the different kinds of stitches that you can use while sewing. For right now, we like to keep it on the green and leaning towards the right, just because that's the most basic of stitches. There's a lever right here, which is how you move all your stitches to the different designs of stitches that are up here on the top. Let me show you really fast. If you turn your machine on, you turn in a quarter turn, so it's on. If you turn it a full 180, then you can see the light turned on right there. So once again, there it is. The light is off and the light is on. Just helps you see a little bit better when you're sewing. Okay. So this knob where it changes, like what kind of stitch you are using, this is actually called a sector level. So again, it's a sector level. It just changes the stitch And again, you can kind of see, and there's a green line up here, and there's a red line over here. Let's see if I can move my camera to help you out a bit. Here we go, to see it. There you are, and it shows all the different kinds of stitches and anything that you might need. Now this thing right here, yep, see the picture, it shows the picture, and then there it is. That is actually called, that is a tension wheel, so it tells you how much tension you want in your, when you're sewing for your thread. So keep it there. There's really no need to move that unless you're doing certain fabrics, but for right now, that's the perfect one. Okay, so now here we are back down. All right, so right here, the part that's going up and down, there's a lever in the back. You can kind of see it. See it a little bit sticking out right there. When you pull it up, this is how you stick your fabric in there. And then when you push it down, it kind of holds your fabric in place so it doesn't slide all over the place. But this is called the presser foot, this little piece right here. Now for different things, there are different presser foots. So like I was saying, if you are doing a button, there's a button presser foot. If you're doing a zipper, there's a zipper one. So this is the basic generic presser foot. It works with your fabrics. So let's see if it helps if I turn the light on. Not really. So there you have it, presser foot. All right, then we have the needle itself, which is right here. Goes all the way down. This metal plate right here, it's actually called the stitch plate. And if you, I don't know if we can see it right now, but the stitch plate has almost little, like a little motor that spins. So when you are using it and when you're sewing, it'll help your fabric go automatically move backwards and away from you. So it has little feet that help the fabric go through. And there's presser foot, and then right down here, this is where your bobbin will go. So when you sew, when you hand sew, you fold your thread in half, so you have two pieces. But when you sew with a machine, you have one piece of thread that's coming down from the top here, and then you have some thread that comes up from the bottom here, and it forms two pieces of thread, has two pieces of thread together instead of just one. So again, this is where the bobbin and the bobbin holder go. And that right there is the machine. All right, let's, the next video you're gonna do is we're gonna talk about how to thread the machine.